can close Facebook account. We'll see if this kind of start. Just open the presentation.
Good evening, viewers. Hope all of you are truly doing well, as I keep asking, and are trying to stay as safe as you can. As we all know, the bad news is that our numbers are growing beyond 65,000 per day. And that is the reason why we thought it is opportune to come up with this very critically important topic, which is oxy-inflammation, the combination of oxidative stress and inflammation, and to actually talk about what can take care of it and if it does pose any risk of fatality in the current pandemic crisis. So before we go on to the topic, as usual, I would like to give you a quick prelude on true wealth. As you are aware, true wealth is an integrative healthcare initiative guiding patients and healthy individuals to overcome their health concerns and manage self-health to reach the ultimate goal of holistic health and happiness. True Wealth aims to help you separate science from hype by sharing authentic knowledge and wisdom from healthcare and nutrition stalwarts so you can make the right health and nutrition choices. It also desires to unleash the therapeutic role and potential of nutrition in curing and preventing diseases of today, which even modern medicine is unable to partly or completely treat. True Wealth's ultimate goal is to provide integrative and personalized health and nutrition advice to achieve health and happiness. A quick disclaimer note, viewers, and that is because we are taking efforts day in, day out to organize these live programs, and bear in mind that we are doing this to just get you more information and guidance to keep health, nutrition, and fitness through this pandemic and otherwise. And the recommendations made by me today or any other participants cannot be treated as a consultation All we are trying to do is try to get you the authentic knowledge so you can actually be more informed through through the pandemic. Uh, if you have any questions, feel free to call up 98200 or you can visit our website www.truewealth.in if you would like to take any personalized consultation in any therapy area, including nutrition. Uh, I am sure I'm going to try to do more than justice to your questions and concerns out here today. However, please note that this program is not intended to provide any particular information or rather, any sort of consultation on COVID-19 and related treatment. I'm just going to share the knowledge that I have so that it can just help you to separate fear from facts and be able to deal with the pandemic well through these very troubled times that we are going through right now. With that, I do not want to waste even a single minute. You all sort of know a little bit about me. I'm a nutrition expert, and I'm of course the founder of True Wealth Integrative Healthcare, which believes in providing this authentic information and also helping you manage your diseases holistically. Having said that, today we have an extremely important topic at hand while I run this Power of Nutrition for Immunity series with you while everyone is going through these bad times. I am going to continue coming up with different topics which will be of a lot of relevance under this series, which will help you build immunity and which will help you secure yourself, protect yourself from the current pandemic. The topic today really is to understand the relation between oxidative stress, inflammation, and infection. How much do we understand oxidation and inflammation? These two words have a lot of negative connotation these days, but is it a completely negative word is something that we are really going to find out. But before we go on to that, let's really find out what is immunity. Immunity as can be defined is a very complex biological system that we have within ourselves and which basically endows the capacity to recognize and tolerate whatever belongs to us, ourselves, and to recognize anything that is foreign and to reject it. That is what our immune system primarily does. Without immune system, our bodies would be open to attack from bacteria, viruses, parasites, toxins, and more. It is our immune system that keeps us healthy as we survive through a sea of pathogens. Immunity, as I would like to explain through this through this diagram is you can see out here that there are two types of immunities. One is innate and the second is acquired. Now, what we really want to focus today is actually really the innate one, but the acquired one also we need to understand. Innate is something that we are born with from our mother's womb. And acquired is something which we acquire over a period of our life. And that really depends on what kind of environment we've been in, what type of infections we are contesting. Acquired immunity has two different types. Acquired, as the name suggests, it's acquired over the lifetime. Active and passive are the two types. Now, in the active type of immunity, what we see is that in active immunity, the active immunity comes about from our own antibodies, whereas the passive one is the ready-made antibodies. Now, the ready-made antibodies we know actually are something which we get from our mother. That is when we are lactating, the babies actually get it from their mother, and the artificial antibodies are basically gotten from other sources. Like right now we are talking about plasma therapy and more. So those are the kind of therapies which come under the artificial acquired immunity. However, the main focus one right now is the natural immunity, which we really wait for to be able to stump out the current COVID-19 virus if we are infected. Um, the reason to do this session today is actually really our healthcare workers and whom we closely work with. We are realizing that a lot of them are actually contesting this infection themselves, and the viral load they're experiencing is very, very high, which is the reason why a lot of them are facing lots of risks. That is the reason why I really wanted to bring forth this concept today, and which is the reason why we are also seeing that very close and near ones are getting the infection. And in those kind of conditions, so that we don't panic and we have more information, because these are two major areas which cause a lot of risk in these infections. I'm going to highlight them today, which really is linked to this active, acquired, and innate immunity. Again, the active immunity, like I explained, is natural, and the other was artificial. Now, the artificial one is the one we really are waiting for the vaccines, and a lot of work is being put in aggressively. However, it is really taking a long time, which is why we are depending on our natural acquired immunity. So while we go into that, now let's really understand a little bit more about these two types of immunities, innate immunity and the acquired or the adaptive immune system. These are the two systems. Now, the innate immune system consists of physical barriers, basically our skin, our gastrointestinal tract, our respiratory tract. These are the ones which actually don't let the infection spread all over the body. Cilia, nasopharynx, these are actually going to expel things out, and the defense mechanisms, which we all know are secretions, like mucus, especially bile. So when we eat, also we don't get stomach infections and other infections quickly, is because acid sort of destroys them. So these are our defense innate mechanisms. Apart from that, we also have general immune responses, which include inflammation, complement, and non-specific cellular responses. Now, you have to realize that these non-specific cellular responses are actually very, very fast. So it's like, you know, if a bacteria or a virus comes close to your nose, you are not going to take 2 hours to sneeze. You're going to sneeze in seconds. So they're extremely fast, and also they are non-specific. And the kind of cells that are involved in this are the leukocytes. And we will be seeing more of this in this presentation. This presentation is a little complicated to understand, but I'm going to try to make an attempt to make it as easy as possible for you all. What we see here are the different types of cells like phagocytes, macrophages, mast cells, neutrophils, eosinophils. All of these have different types of functions in the innate immune system. Apart from that, we have the adaptive immune system, which consists of two cells primarily, and those are the B cells and the T cells. The B cells mature in the bone marrow, and they contribute to the antibodies that bind directly with specific antigens to contribute to the humoral immunity. The T cells mature in the thymus, and they express T cell receptors and CD4 and or CD8, which contribute to the cell-mediated immunity. So these really are these acquired or these adaptive immune system responses are highly specific. They identify pathogens and differences in their molecular structures, and they attack directly, pinpointed, very highly specific. And they are extremely slow, as they take a lot of days for the antibodies to develop. And these are the times when viruses like COVID-19 can actually be very, very notorious. I wanted to show you some of the symptoms when all these innate and adaptive immune system is acting. What are the different types of symptoms that we are seeing? And I wanted to highlight these because we are in our monsoon season, especially here in Mumbai and Pune. It's like really, really bad all over Maharashtra, and also in the country. We are experiencing rains. And the rains actually give rise to several different types of common colds, seasonal flus. So what happens is we can actually get confused between the symptoms. So if you see here, fever, dry cough, these are kind of similar symptoms to coronavirus, but a runny nose, stuffy nose is normally a symptom of seasonal flu. At the same time, too much of sneezing, again, stuffy nose can also be a common cold. So we do have to understand that especially runny nose is something which is linked to seasonal flu and common cold. However, we have to understand the coronavirus symptoms very well, because at times we have seen that they are asymptomatic as well and then can erupt quickly into a severe infection. So it can be fever, dry cough, muscle ache, fatigue. People are also experiencing issues with their taste, headache, coughing up blood, and diarrhea. So these are major symptoms that have been observed. So try and understand that there are differences between this, and do not really panic. Though this infection is quite deadly, it doesn't mean it is going to affect everyone. What we are seeing is a lot of people are experiencing severe symptoms, but at the same time, a lot of them are, more people, almost close to 65% to 70% people are recovering from this disease. So there is no reason to panic, but in fact, to do the right things. I've put up a diagram here for all of you to really understand the coronavirus disease 2019. It is a pandemic caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome, also called the SARS-CoV-2. Despite the widespread awareness regarding COVID-19, many are still unaware about how it really affects the human body. And that's really why this session is being conducted. And what we have heard on a lot of media channels, etc., is that it starts a journey in the nose, mouth, or eyes, and travels down to the alveoli in the lungs. Now, these are the alveoli that are there in the lungs. These small cells that you can see, and these tiny sacs that are here, these are the alveoli. So the alveoli are the sacs where actually the gaseous exchange really occurs. So that is the reason why it is extremely important to understand the alveoli that are there in our lungs. And apart from that, understand what a gas exchange is. That each sac of air or alveoli is wrapped with capillaries where red blood cells release carbon dioxide and pick up oxygen. Two alveolar cells facilitate gas exchange. Type 1 cells are thin enough that the oxygen passes right through, and type 2 cells secrete surfactant, a substance that lines the alveolus and prevents it from collapsing. When a viral infection happens, the spike proteins covering the coronavirus actually bind the ACE2 receptors primarily on type 2 alveolar cells, allowing the virus to eject its RNA. The RNA hijacks the cell, telling it to assemble many more copies of the virus and release them into the alveolus. This is what the notorious game that happens. The host cell is destroyed in this process, and the new coronaviruses infect neighboring cells. That's in a gist about this this infection, really. And then what happens is that it impairs the gas exchange. When the immune system attacks the area infection, it also kills healthy alveolar cells. This results in three things that hinder gas exchange: alveolar collapse due to the loss of surfactant from type 2 cells, less oxygen enters the body stream due to lack of type 1 cells, which we saw in the earlier slide, and more fluid enters the alveolus. Now, this is really what causes less oxygen to be circulated, and what we are hearing, that the oximeter readings need to be taken and people are feeling breathless, and some of them then need ICU. So we have to understand that this is the process which really affects them. So what is really happening? What is the immune response here? After infection, type 2 cells release inflammatory signals that recruit the macrophages, which are actually the immune cells. Macrophages release the cytokines that cause vasodilation, which allows more immune cells to come to the site of injury and exit the capillary. Fluid accumulates inside the alveolus. The fluid dilutes the surfactant, which triggers the onset of alveolar collapse, decreasing gas exchange and increasing the work of breathing. Neutrophils are recruited to the site of infection and release the reactive oxygen species to destroy the infected cells. Bear in mind that this inflammation and these reactive oxygen species is something that I am going to reiterate in my next few slides. Type 1 and type 2 cells are destroyed, leading to collapse of the alveolus and causing acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is very commonly these days spoken about as ARDS. If inflammation becomes severe, the protein-rich fluid can enter the body stream and travel elsewhere in the body, causing systemic inflammatory response syndrome. SIRS, that is the systemic inflammation response syndrome, can lead to a septic shock and multiple organ failure, which can then actually cause fatal consequences, and which is why people succumb to these viral infections. So I hope I have tried to make it as easy as possible using diagrams and trying to showcase you these simple steps so that you can understand what's really going on. So symptom-wise, initially you see dry cough, fever, etc. Then slowly the pneumonia develops. Then there is shortness of breath. And when there is hospitalization, dangerous from high-risk individuals, secondary infections actually may occur. So there are also threats of secondary infections from other microbes which can happen, and patients may require ventilator and life support. Just as the immune response progresses, also the symptoms are progressing, and then the complications unrelated to COVID-19 may occur. With proper care, patients may recover at any point during this process. And which is why there are several of these hospitals that are relentlessly working, several of the healthcare professionals that are relentlessly working at these kind of stages to get the patients out. And we really, our heart and mind and soul should really be going out for these healthcare professionals, which is what is most important at this point in time. Now, so let's really understand oxy-inflammation. So oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, they're silent and most dangerous. And why are they silent and most dangerous? Because regardless of the fact if we have a viral infection or any other infection, at times and in many individuals, oxidative stress and chronic inflammation is already underlying and is keeping quiet in our body. And that's what is really notorious. This is my favorite diagram because very easy to understand what happens to apple, the way it gets oxidized. That is the reason, that's the same way when there is an infection attack or there are any other inflammatory signals, what happens is the cell gets attacked by free radicals. And what happens is then the cell is under oxidative distress and the cell eventually dies. So this is really what is oxidative stress. I would like to go over a few more points again, which we went through in the previous slides, that the phagocytic, how does this entire process of the immune system really start? So in the initial phase, the phagocytic cells exhibit their microbicidal properties by generating huge amount of reactive oxygen species and reactive nitrogen species. Now that is called ROS. And the reactive oxygen species are basically oxygen molecules with uneven number of electrons. So what happens is that it makes it highly reactive with other molecules. So the reactive oxygen species can interact with nitric oxide to produce reactive nitrogen species. So which is also commonly called as RONS together. And this respiratory combating process is most prominent in the neutrophils, which are the cells in our body, which are the immunity cells in our body. So what happens is that as compared to other phagocytic cells, these cells are the ones which are most responsible for the oxidation to happen. And what happens is it gives oxidative stress. Now, this oxidative stress is actually important because it can damage a variety of biomolecules and kill the ingested microorganisms. So understand that inflammation and oxidation both are very, very important. And the elevated immune response can, what further we saw earlier also was it can then lead to leakage in the blood capillaries in the lungs, leading to plasma seepage into the alveoli, resulting in a less functional area for gas exchange. This is what happens inside the lungs, and high levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines and chemokines are found to be released by the neutrophils in the patients infected with highly pathogenic strains. So, you know, like I said, if the pathogen is very, very infective, or if the viral load is very, very high, then what happens is the inflammation caused or the inflammation triggered by the neutrophils is extremely high. And what happens is that the pro-inflammatory cytokines which are secreted are also higher. This inflammation then is going to trigger the reactive oxygen species on it again. So more number of reactive oxygen and reactive nitrogen species will be formed. So all this together sort of puts a load on the lungs and the respiratory process. And the respiratory failure from this acute respiratory distress syndrome can actually occur, and which is one of the leading causes of mortality. So understand that inflammation and oxidative stress coexist. Inflammatory cells, and again repeat, liberate a number of reactive species at the site of inflammation, leading to exaggerated oxidative stress. On the other hand, a number of reactive oxygen nitrogen species can initiate intracellular signaling cascade that can actually enhance the pro-inflammatory gene expression. So if you see, inflammation triggers oxidation, oxidation again triggers inflammation. Evidence suggests that oxidative stress and chronic low-grade inflammation in the lungs are associated with aging and may contribute to age-related immune dysfunction and mortality risk in aged patients affected by respiratory virus infections such as SARS-CoV-2. So what we realize is that this is the reason why we all are trying to protect the older in our homes. And it is extremely important to take care of them, keep them away from any exposure. Again, what can inflammation and oxidative stress do together? This vicious cycle linking chronic and systemic oxidative stress to mild chronic inflammation is what is termed today as oxy-inflammation. That means that inflammation and oxidative stress coexist, especially in diseases like diabetic complications, obesity, cardiovascular diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, obesity, mainly alcoholic liver disease, and chronic kidney disease. Respiratory failure from acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is a leading cause of mortality, has been observed in elderly patients, not only elderly patients, but also patients who might be younger, but with these kind of comorbid conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, chronic kidney disease, asthma, and more. So all these kind of people have to stay safe, stay away, try to stay home and not get exposed to the virus. So again, reiterating why oxidative stress and chronic inflammation are silent and most dangerous is because there is data here. And you can see that this is the Chinese data which shows that in comorbid conditions like hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, and you can see these circles, that these are the confirmed COVID cases and these are the confirmed deaths. So what is really happening is, the confirmed cases do have chronic treat disease, but people having underlying causes like hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, you can see here, are actually the people in higher numbers who are unfortunately succumbing to the disease. So understand that these comorbid diseases have to be lifestyle-wise kept under control. Most important also, with the fact that we are trying to stay away from the virus, we also have to try to stay away from these lifestyle diseases, because these are the ones which are causing the underlying inflammation and oxidative stress in our body. While oxidative stress plays an important role in the initial phase of combating infection, if the huge amounts of this reactive oxygen and nitrogen species is generated as a defense mechanism, if they are not removed adequately, it can cause toxicity to all the different types of cells. Production and accumulation of both these free radicals, or what we call as the reactive oxygen and nitrogen species, can cause imbalance between these free radicals and the antioxidants, as the antioxidants are molecules which help in scavenging these free radicals, and in that process these molecules are lost. This imbalance actually is termed as oxidative stress and can be notorious for us in the long run. It does what it does is it induces lipid peroxidation of host cell components, protein carbonylation, and DNA damage. You can actually see this diagram here. I tried to enlarge it here so that we can see what are the different environmental factors which then cause inflammation and oxidative stress. Are ionizing radiations, UV radiations, xenobiotics, radical generation, smoking, pollution. There are so many of these molecules that are around in the environment that can actually induce the oxidative stress. Also intracellular components, including mitochondria, electron transport chain, cytochrome P450. These are all, I wouldn't go more in details because these are more biochemistry, which is more tedious biochemistry to understand. But basically understand that there are environmental factors, and then there are intracellular factors, which are like inflammation, which actually trigger the oxidation in our body. Now, what happens is there are these intracellular compounds which try to balance these oxidation molecules with the antioxidants, and these molecules can the antioxidant compounds can be vitamin C, E, which we will be going over in detail, and these are the ones which are going to be the focus. But when there is too much of inflammation and oxidation in the body, the balance actually is broken. And what happens when the balance is broken, these free radicals can start attacking the DNA, the lipids, proteins in our body, and can then give rise to apoptosis. That is actually cell death, autophagy, which is eating a body cells eating its own cells, necrosis, which is irreversible cell injury, and pro-inflammatory cytokines, which is again going to cause inflammation, and which is what makes this cyclic again. So inflammation causing oxidative stress causing inflammation, and the cycle goes on. This is not good news for us at all. In terms, like I say, these are two most critical factors which I continuously focus on through my nutrition advice whenever I'm giving that. Also through these several formulations that I'm trying to develop, is because these are the two factors which are actually causing us lifestyle diseases to autoimmune diseases like cancer, arthritis, lifestyle diseases like diabetes, obesity, and so many of them. And in return, today we are seeing that these are the major factors which are actually impacting even infection. So what is and trying to survive and come out of it has become such a big challenge. So we really need to understand these two important aspects, which can actually now be brought in under one word, which is oxy-inflammation, which can be very deadly. oxy inflammation, as we will recap this later again in the end. I hope you viewers are having a good time listening to all these type of inputs that I am trying to put together. We are almost close to an hour with all this discussion, but I am going to also now try to cover a little bit about the different types of different types of nutrients that actually can help us through this through recovering from these two conditions or trying to control these two conditions. Bear with me till I share my slides. So we were actually on the fact that oxy-inflammation is deadly. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that poor nutrient status is associated with inflammation and oxidative stress, and which in turn can impact the immune system. So here we see, and I'm actually going to go over ABCDs of the vitamins. So vitamin A, which is also called an anti-infection vitamin, acts as an anti-inflammatory factor involved in improving immune system function and mucosal integrity, which protects the body against infections. Vitamin A could also decrease the mortality and morbidity rates in infections, mortality as in fatality rates in infectious diseases such as measles, diarrheal disease, measles-related pneumonia, and several other infections. That's what is observed. Vitamin A was suggested as an option to the treatment of coronavirus and prevention of lung infection. Of course, in a recent study that is done in 2020. Vitamin A also contributes to the phagocytic and oxidative activities of the macrophages. It helps regulate the number and function of the NK cells. It helps regulate production of the interleukin-2 and the pro-inflammatory markers, the tumor necrosis factor alpha, which activates the microbial action of macrophages. It is involved in development and differentiation of the Th1 and the Th2 cells, which balances them, which actually balances the immune response. So how does that balance really happen? Is that what are these Th1 and Th2 cells? They play an important role in immunity. The Th1 cells stimulate the cellular immune response. They participate in the inhibition of the macrophage activation and stimulate the B cells to produce IgM and IgG. The Th2 stimulate the humoral immune response, and they promote the B cell proliferation and induce antibody production in the body. It can also induce the differentiation and proliferation of mast cells and the differentiation and proliferation of the eosinophilic leukocytes. So different functions these two cells have in actually triggering the immune responses. Under normal circumstances, the differentiation of Th1 and Th2 cells, they have to stay in a balanced state. And once the balance is shifted, it will lead to occurrence of diseases. Overexpression of Th2 can lead to inappropriate immune responses, leading to diseases such as allergies and asthma. And overexpression of Th1 and Th17 can lead to actually autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis. The next one, as I said, ABCD. The next one is B1. Vitamin B1 has anti-inflammatory effects through basically through influences on the pro-apoptotic proteins, mitochondrial membrane integrity, cytochrome release, P38 mitogen activated protein kinase, and the induced oxidative response. The deficiency of vitamin B1 may cause inflammation, T cell infiltration, overexpression of pro-inflammatory cytokines such as interleukin-1, the tumor necrosis factor, and interleukin-6, and increasing the level of arachidonic acid-derived eicosanoids. Very complicated science, but it has been reported that administration of thiamine decreased the mortality rate in adult patients with septic shock and elevated lactate. These are the deadly conditions. What I am trying to highlight here is that these vitamins really actually play a very intricate role in as antioxidants, trying to curb the inflammation and the oxidation, but at the same time are involved in fighting the infection. So we have to understand both of this. Vitamin B6, when we move on to vitamin B6, it has pyridoxine, which is known as pyridoxine, has a key role in the production of T cells and interleukins. Vitamin B6 has a role in lymphocyte maturation. Its deficiency has been associated with a dramatic depletion of thoracic duct lymphocytes and a reduction in lymphocyte proliferation. Vitamin B12, which is cobalamin, plays a vital role in the immune system through helping in the production of white blood cells. They may act as immunomodulatory factor and enhance the number of cytotoxic T cells against viral infections. They may also be used as therapeutic agents in sepsis and systemic inflammatory response syndromes. So if you did see that in B1, they can help in the septic shock. In B12, we are again seeing that they play a key role in sepsis. So what they are actually helping us to help these fatalities which can occur due to the load that is happening on the lungs and is actually affecting our respiratory system. So in simple language, they may also help to maintain the normal function of macrophages, and it also has anti-inflammatory effect and proven role in bacteriostasis and phagocytosis. Vitamin C, which is known as ascorbic acid, is one of the most potent antioxidants, and it can, as a most potent antioxidant, it can relieve us from the harmful effects of oxidative stress by neutralizing the free radicals. Vitamin C is really stressed upon right now through this pandemic, as vitamin C also cooperating with vitamin E, it really regenerates alpha tocopherol from alpha tocopherol radicals in membranes and lipoproteins, and also raises glutathione levels in the cells. Thus, it is playing an important role in protein thiol group protection against oxidation. Glutathione is again a very important antioxidant which is required in taking care of oxidative stress. It improves the chemotaxis of phagocytes and also helps to kill bacteria and viruses by modulation of the accumulation of phagocytic cells such as neutrophils. Vitamin C affects several aspects of immunity, including supporting epithelial barrier function, growth, and function of both innate and adaptive immune cells, white blood cell migration to sites of infection, phagocytosis, and microbial killing and antibody production. So see how many roles really vitamins have and how super important they are and how super important nutrients are is what we are actually understanding through this talk now. Vitamin C may also affect the immune system through improving the function of phagocytes, the transformation of T lymphocytes, and the production of interferons. There is also evidence that vitamin C may improve the health status of patients with pneumonia. A study conducted in 2020 suggests that vitamin C may protect against infection caused by coronavirus as well. So you can see that. And vitamin C may also help to prevent excess activation and accumulation of neutrophils and decrease alveolar epithelial water channel damage. So it is taking care of inflammation, it is taking care of oxidation, and also then helping to decrease alveolar epithelial water channel damage. So it is reducing the bad effects on our lung alveoli and the respiratory distress that a patient could be facing. Or they also a controlled randomized trial found that vitamin C improved respiratory symptoms and lowered the mortality rate in severely ill elderly patients. Now going over to D after C. D is also very important, which we all are really deprived of because we aren't really stepping out. So vitamin D has an antimicrobial and antioxidative effect again, and it helps the immune system against the lung infection and airway inflammation. Many studies have reported that vitamin D may prevent respiratory infections, especially viral infections. Vitamin D enhances innate cellular immunity through several mechanisms. It reduces the expression of the pro-inflammatory cytokines such as tumor necrosis factor and interferon gamma again, and increases the expression of anti-inflammatory cytokines. So you see again an encompassed role, promotes the induction of the T regulatory cells, thereby inhibiting the inflammatory processes, promotes differentiation of monocytes to macrophages, increases their killing capacity. So this is what the vitamins are really doing. They curb inflammation, they also trigger inflammation, they bring down the oxidation, they also help trigger it when needed, and at the same time, how are they doing that? By also trying to differentiate, also trying to balance the cells that are there, the different immune cells that are there in the body. So furthermore, vitamin D metabolites regulate production of specific antimicrobial proteins that directly kill pathogens and thus are likely to help reduce infection in the lungs. Then moving on to E after D, vitamin E boosts the immune system and fights disease-causing pathogens such as bacteria and viruses through its strong antioxidative activity and maintaining the integrity of the T cell membranes. No direct study, though, has been conducted in terms of association of vitamin D, E, and COVID-19. However, recent studies have indicated that vitamin E reduced the duration of infection with the influenza virus. Suggested mechanisms involved in the effects of vitamin E are again important. The reduction of prostaglandins 2 production by the inhibition of COX-2 activity mediated through decreasing the NO production. This is again taking care of inflammation, improvement of effective immune synapse formation in naive T cells and the initiation of T cell activation cells and modulation of the Th1 and Th2 balance. So you're seeing how every vitamin is really almost playing all different roles. Higher NK cells activity and lower interleukin 12 production and migration were induced by vitamin E. Further research actually needs to be conducted on this because this is very important. Zinc is something while going from A to Z, we have not still reached Z, we have some more, but when we go to Z, zinc is actually essential for the development, differentiation, and activation of T lymphocytes. Zinc deficiency has actually been observed in weakening the immune system by reducing macrophages and monocytes and increasing oxidative stress. The various functions of macrophages, including phagocytosis and the secretion of immune mediating factors, can be impaired by zinc imbalance. Increased intracellular zinc concentrations are known to efficiently impair the replication of several RNA viruses. It has been reported that coronavirus replication can be inhibited by increased zinc levels, and that concentration of zinc inhibited the replication of SARS coronavirus in cell structure. So viewers, isn't this all a lot of good news that, if through all these 5 months that we have been home and we've been trying to eat healthy, as I've always been suggesting to you, giving you a lot of tips, and if we have been trying to following that and trying to eat well, we are not eating a lot of junk because we're not going out. This is a lot of good news. I'm sure a lot of oxidation and inflammation within our body is reduced because we're also not exposed to too much of environmental pollutants which are out there. So I will also be going to some of these quick diagrams to recap what I've gone over so you can easily understand what I was trying to say. Is again, I also want to specify selenium because adequate intake of selenium improves immunity and it does reduce inflammation. It has a great antioxidant effect, mainly through boosting the synthesis of glutamine peroxidase, which protects the neutrophils from the oxidative stress. Selenium deficiency and suppressed selenoprotein expression have been associated with higher levels of inflammatory cytokines in various tissues, including the gastrointestinal tract, that is the GI tract, the uterus, the mammary glands, and other tissues. Dietary selenium deficiency that causes oxidative distress in the host can alter the viral genome so that a normal, benign, or mildly pathogenic virus can become highly virulent in the deficient host under oxidative stress. So do understand that selenium deficiency is not good. It is reported that selenium supplementation might improve the immune function and the response to viral infections such as lethal influenza infection. And then another favorite, which is not the water soluble ones which we spoke about right now, a fat. We keep away from fat, but this good fat is something which we must all of us need to have a good dose of this, right? From kids to older people, especially post 40, this is something which we need to consume. Omega-3 fatty acids, they can actually boost the immune system through different mechanisms such as improving B cell activity, which we saw again, that acquired immunity has B cells again, decreasing cytokines, decreasing the inflammatory eicosanoids, and increasing phagocytosis. That is actually throwing away and bactericide or the microcidal activity, which throws out the infection. The DHA component, which is the docosahexaenoic acid component of the omega-3, provides cell protection against oxidative insults when endogenous stress defense mechanisms are imbalanced. Studies showed that eicosapentaenoic acid, that is EPA, the EPA component of omega intake, actually significantly decreased the prostaglandin 2 production. 3 studies investigating a formula containing EPA-DHA is in critically ill patients with severe sepsis again, acute respiratory distress syndrome, the ARDS, which we spoke about, and acute lung injury, have reported that they could decrease the duration of the mechanical ventilation and improve the oxygenation in these kind of patients. Another very important herb I wanted to highlight, though this doesn't really come a lot under the prerogative of the modern research ingredients, but this is such a big ancient insight, and which is very well known also in the other parts of the world as Bethania somnifera today. Ashwagandha, it's like a Sanjeevani booty that we can actually use it. It's again another herb which can be taken regularly, of course, but with good advice depending on the kind of disease conditions or underlying conditions that we may have. But ashwagandha is again a very good herb which can offer multi-target effects in inflammatory conditions by restoring immune homeostasis, that is enabling the human immune system to eliminate microbes without causing autoimmunity. And this was actually published in one of the leading newspapers in India. Ashwagandha can also be effective. It can be an effective therapeutic and preventive drug against COVID-19 infection. That is what a collaborative research by IIT Delhi and Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology have found. So watch this herb out again. Another few points which I want to reiterate apart from vitamins and herbs is also, we went through vitamins, we went through minerals, we went through herbs, all antioxidants, and now I actually want to stress on electrolytes. What are electrolytes really? And electrolyte imbalances in patients are observed in COVID-19 patients. Electrolyte imbalances are observed, and COVID-19 is actually COVID-19 severity is actually associated with lower serum concentrations of these electrolytes, that is sodium, potassium, and calcium. Don't we know all these of them? We do know them, and we know them when we get diarrhea. And COVID-19 patients, again, diarrhea is a symptom. And so there is a lot of association of loss of these electrolytes as well. And what these disturbances can do is that, in particular, if there is hypokalemia, it may have clinically significant implications for patient management and potentially contribute to unraveling pathogenic mechanisms underlying 19. Hypokalemia is known to exacerbate acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, and acute cardiac injury, which are common complications in COVID-19, especially in patients with underlying lung or heart disease. It is recommended that electrolytes be measured at initial presentation of the patient itself and serially monitored during hospitalization in order to establish timely and appropriate corrective action. So understand, electrolytes are, so not only is hydration, drinking water important, but having these electrolytes, so being able to retain the water in our cells, in our body, is extremely important. Why? Again, learn here that salt-induced pathways are there again in our body, which play an important role in T cell immunology. Salt-induced enhancement of leukocyte function are not confined to macrophages that belong to the innate immune system, but they operate in T cells, which form an essential part of the specific adaptive immune system, and whose function is known to be governed by various microenvironmental factors. For almost 2 decades, it has been known that increasing NaCl conditions, that is sodium chloride conditions, by approximately 40 mm boosts the interleukin-2 expression and the T cell proliferation. I wouldn't go over more of these technical inputs, but do understand that salt plays an important role in the T cell immunology in our body. So it is extremely important. And again, all that I have been talking until now, I have actually taken some of these studies and I have put them, literally pasted them here so that you can see that, you know, these are all scientific evidences. These are scientific evidences pasted out here. I haven't typewritten anything. These are the ones that are available in the public domain as well. And that I'm not just talking because, you know, there is textbook knowledge. No, there are a lot of these trials, meta-analysis that have been conducted. So many RCTs have been conducted, that are the randomized controlled trials, which are the most considered to be the most trustworthy ones, have been conducted on all these different vitamins, minerals, antioxidants that we just now spoke about, and understand that fish oil, you're seeing omega-3 out here, you're seeing L-arginine. I am actually going to talk about L-arginine in a little bit also. Vitamin D, again, there are so many different types of trials that have been conducted on vitamin C, selenium, zinc, and so there is a lot of data. And now look at this. I mean, at the end, I would just want to recap all this. You can see we saw the innate response in beginning and the adaptive or response here. So what are we seeing here? That vitamin E, C, selenium actually acts on the neutrophils, which is going to trigger the inflammatory and the oxidative response. Then we have vitamin D, zinc acting monocytes, omega-3 acting, vitamin A, B12, C, zinc acting on the macrophages. And here we can see that in the BT cells, again, we have omega-3, vitamin A acting on the B cells. We have vitamin A, D, E, B1, B6, B12, vitamin C, zinc, etc., acting on the T cells. These are again the adaptive responses which are very, very important. So if these vitamins are not there, what will happen is that the adaptive response or the generation of the antibodies will take longer. The antibodies to fight the viral infection will also be affected. So do understand that all these different types of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, herbs that we discussed right now are so very important. And along with that, also the electrolytes. And then these are NK cells where we see vitamin A and vitamin E also having a big role. So do understand, viewers, that a lot is being spoken about in the public domain about doing all these things, and they are right. I mean, having adequate sleep, getting a good balanced diet, staying physically active, not too much, but as much required, drinking adequate water. All these suggestions I give, I mean, you do need to have a balanced diet, and I'm going to run that quickly. Staying physically active, stay physically active, but don't do too much activity which will hurt you, give you pain, or is going to cause any sort of trauma to you. Drinking adequate water, but with electrolytes. Hope you've understood that through this presentation. Keep control over diabetes, blood pressure. We've understood this also, that these underlying causes can actually have oxidation and inflammation. Getting vaccinations regularly, of course. Stay away from stress. It is important, and why I'll explain that also, because stress actually induces, creates problems in our GI health, and the digestion will not occur properly. And if digestion doesn't occur properly, no matter what nutrients we're eating, will not get uptake. Practicing yoga, meditation, avoiding alcohol, tobacco, addictive drugs, absolutely, and maintaining healthy relationships with loved ones. Extremely important. All of these aspects I'm trying to cover today because I'm really dearly thinking about all of you out there, especially my healthcare friends who are really badly exposed to all these infections. And I am just contributing so that I can make all the other people around you aware that all these different kind of precautions need to be taken care of, that so that they can stay safe, and you all healthcare professionals can stay safe. While we know, like I said, the balanced nutrition is important, where we right now especially need to eat a really, really balanced nutrition with whole grains, healthy proteins, good fruits and vegetables have to be half the plate. We must eat whole grains. We have to stay away from white flours like maida, and eating raw sugars and things like that. We must eat at least 35-40% proteins. It is exceptionally needed. We need to take hydration and good oils, because we saw omega-3 is a part of these good oils. So it is extremely important to have a balanced diet, a balance of macronutrients. We shouldn't be into these first two circles. We really need to be in these circles where we are consuming good amount of proteins, and also good fat, and carbohydrates should be minimal, and it should be received to whole grains and not through raw sugars and bleached flours like maida, etc. Also, another balance which has to be there in alkaline and acidic foods. Understand that, because why? If we don't keep our GI health well, if again there's no good balance between alkaline and acidic foods, and with stress, what will essentially happen is that the enzymes and the digestion can get hampered. Again, eating good amount of enzymes is important. I would, in fact, through this pandemic, advise taking supplements, because all that we are eating, a lot of people are experiencing constipation, diarrheal issues. They are not able to uptake the important immunity nutrients that we are eating. So we may eat well or we may not, but if the nutrients are not getting uptake well, then we any which ways are going to be at a higher risk. We don't know, we may have to step out, because this is sort of becoming a new normal. So if we have to step out, we have to make sure that we have good amount of enzymes in our nutrition, so that what we are eating actually gets assimilated in our body. critical recommendations. That's why I am going to now go over, and please listen in, viewers you all are always normally there through my sessions, encouraging me to understand the American Society for Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition is saying, it's not me. They are saying that nutrition and hydration are key weapons in the fight against COVID-19. For an adult with a fever, say around 102, that is 39 degrees centigrade or 102 Fahrenheit, sweating results in a loss of about 30 ounces of fluid is what they say. So a lot of fluid is lost in 24 hours, and with additional 3 ounces lost during coughing and breathing. So understand, too much of breathing, coughing, and sweating is happening, and we are losing water. So hydration is important. Fluid deficits are further magnified by losses due to nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, inadequate fluid intake related to poor appetite. And we saw earlier that these individuals are also having less number of electrolytes. So how will really the hydration happen in the body? For it to happen, and also there's unintentional weight loss during illness. It's an indication that body is losing fluids and utilizing the body's fat and muscle for energy and protein to maintain normal bodily functions. Also, body fluid, fat, and muscle losses impact your ability to fight illness and recovery then. Hydration and nutrition play an important role in your body's response to and recovery from COVID-19 virus is what the American Society has to say, and are essential part of your medical treatment. Aspen suggests that drinking beverages which provide calories, essential electrolytes, and minerals that your body needs are considered to use, should be considered basically to use as oral nutritional supplement, should also be considered. So these beverages has to be considered, good nutritional supplements have to be considered, and which is why I think you should I recommend keep yourself hydrated and recharge yourself with multivitamins, minerals, electrolytes, antioxidants, and herbs. And I wouldn't shy away from actually showing you my formulations today, which I normally do not do because we are trying to educate you, but this is essential today. What we are seeing, look at these testimonials coming from doctors. These are orthopedicians, gynacs. There are patients who have been taking this. There are doctors who are patients who have been taking these formulas, and you have to understand that a formula which gives you vitamin C, zinc, copper, ashwagandha, essential electrolytes, vitamins B, C, D, E, folic acid, biotin, ginger, tulsi, brahmi, all of these are extremely important. If a formula is able to give you all of this together, which is shown, there are studies that are showing that this is helping through infections to take care of oxy-inflammation, that is oxidative stress and inflammation, and also in fighting these infections, you must be taking this as a preventive, and also if once you are getting this infection. And if someone is trying to fight the infection at home, all this is super essential according to me. Another thing which is important is proteins for immunity, support and strengthening. So proteins for immunity strengthens, again, what you see is you eat good mix of proteins and eat proteins to build immunity and get the energy, both of which is needed in these pandemic conditions to prevent ourselves from this deadly infection. And also if we have gotten the infection, this is extremely important because, and I keep reiterating that quantity of proteins is important, but more than that, the crucial amino acids that are received from these proteins is most important, and that these proteins get digested is important. Trying to eat too much of protein and loading your kidneys through these conditions is not probably the right idea. So again, getting the right amino acids, which are glutamine and arginine, there are trials which have shown, and here I want to showcase you that amino acids, why that they play a critical role as immune responses, including the proliferation and the activation of the T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, natural killer cells, and macrophages. These are the ones that where amino acids play a critical role, regulation of intracellular redox status and gene expression. This is again extremely important to keep the oxidation in place, but oxidative stress in control, production of antibodies, cytokines, and other cytotoxic substances so that inflammation stays under control. Protein recommendation is estimated about 0.8 grams per kg per day in healthy adults. But if you are at risk of a viral infection, or if you are infected, then in that case, 1 gram or more than that per kg per day can be recommended, but take it with recommendation. Do not take this as an advice that I'm giving you right now, because every individual is different. So you have to first understand if it is going to work for you, if it is safe for you. And again, so all this is with risk, has to be taken by people who are at risk in order to strengthen the immune system, like I said, against infections. Amino acids like arginine play a key role in strengthening the immune system by enhancing T cell activity. Nitric oxide, which is produced by arginine, may inhibit the SARS-CoV replication cycle. So understand this also. Nitric oxide was also reported to have an important role in regulating the airway function and in treating the airway inflammation and lung diseases. Study also shows that significant increase in lymphocyte counts after an oral dose of proteins. So understand that this is the reason why proteins are important, and there are studies which show that it improves cellular immune function, which you see here. It improves this immune cellular function. It fights infections. It increases the muscle and bone strength, of course, but that is because recovery is happening. It enhances recovery from illness, and it reduces hospital stays. Several trials have been conducted. Such protein supplements are being used in recoveries any which ways. But what is important is to have a comprehensive support formula which gives you proteins, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And we have seen that through this presentation, why all of it is needed together. This formula I would recommend for kids, because kids right now are not able, they are facing vitamin deficiencies like anything, because they are not getting to eat all that is possible, because all foods are not safe. We are not able to cook everything for them. We're not able to get everything. They are not able to go out, play. They're not eating well. They're finicky. So many things are there. Psychologically, they are also not in a good condition to be eating good meals. So understand that all these deficiencies in children have to be corrected. And so this kind of a formula, which has different types of flavors in it, so that a kid can have one flavor today and another tomorrow, just in one pack. They will be delighted to drink it. Make them drink it. And we've seen good results where deficiencies are getting corrected through these times of pandemic, instead of kids staying deficient. And this is extremely important, to take care of your kids and your loved ones in these times. Also, adults can have these kind of formulas and must, to keep their muscular health and bone health as well. Again, we're going to the anti-inflammatory agents. We saw so many of these vitamins, minerals. There are other agents like Gadgil, which has been exquisitely used, which also we have ginger, we have turmeric, we said ashwagandha, which is Withania somnifera. All these different types of ingredients which actually have a good anti-inflammatory effect, so that it keeps the underlying inflammation low, is very, very important. All these kind of inflammation can be notorious in causing autoimmune diseases within our body. So consuming these kind of supplements, again, is something which I will recommend. Right now, it is super essential, especially older people who are suffering from bone muscle, bone and joint issues, who have diabetes, who have aging, which is a major issue because of all these comorbid diseases that they have been having. In those kind of conditions, modern research and ancient insight have actually shown us that these different ingredients right? From collagen to glucosamine to MSM to vitamin C, so many other vitamins, minerals, antioxidants which are present in this energy of flexi food can actually be consumed, and we can also consume the ones with the ancient insights in this formula, where you have ashwagandha, you have ginger, you have turmeric, you also have the essential glucose which are needed for taking care of the older people in our conditions. Going again to the formulas, don't blindly again consume these supplements. They have to be consumed with advice, by taking proper advice. We are actually at True Wealth conducting an immunity clinic, which is an immunity support clinic. We are obviously not going to be able to guarantee that you're not going to catch the infection, but all we can really do with this clinic is that you can actually take an online advice as to what you should be really doing to keep your health, to keep your physical health, to keep your mental health. Both this is extremely important. I believe truly that both of this is needed to be a healthy you, and a perfectly physically and mentally healthy you can actually be the most strong enough to fight this deadly pandemic through, even if you're getting infected or you're getting troubled by so many other issues that you are facing. So immunity clinic it is. And apart from that, going back to products, I just want to explain the chronology to you. Is of course you're trying to stay hydrated because electrolytes are extremely important, but along with electrolytes you get vitamins, essential herbs, antioxidants, minerals that are needed to keep your energy, to keep your immunity boosted. These ingredients are known for it, but so trying to consume this can actually help in building your immunity. Also, we saw that proteins, a proper comprehensive formula with proteins, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, these ingredients which have shown effects and have a lot of studies, could actually help you in supporting your health right now, your kids' health right now, and build your immunity. But however, like I said, if all of this is consumed, you have the right balanced food, supplements, you're trying to do everything. But if you don't have good enzyme production that is happening in your body, or you're not eating enough enzymes, then what will really happen is no matter what you eat, it will not get uptake. It will not digest and assimilate in your body. And if it doesn't, it is of course not going to be of any use. So I highly, highly recommend enzyme supplementation that should be taken in the form of a product like this, pancreas, because it undoubtedly has the highest number of enzymes any product can offer, and the relevant ones which the Indian population needs. Because we eat a lot of carbohydrates, there needs to be enzymes which have good amount of carbohydrates. Also, the fibers need to be broken down. People don't concentrate on it, and at the same time, fats and proteins, because we are going to be eating a lot of proteins in these times to keep immunity. So do understand that a mix of all this is extremely important. With that, I really want to thank you all for coming here and listening into this presentation. I would highly recommend you all to share this with people, because I have taken a lot of pain to put all these scientific studies together for all of you, and for all of you to stay safe, because I'm seeing that all you near ones, dear ones, everywhere in our neighborhoods are actually catching the infections, are catching the seasonal infections, or otherwise some of them are getting susceptible to this deadly pandemic infection as well. And what is happening in return is also it is affecting our healthcare professionals. So make sure that we will be able to also safeguard our healthcare professionals. On that note, I would really want to make a promise to be back with more presentations on these lines, on the power of nutrition, and especially in immunity, which is needed right now. I'm so thankful that we already have about 5,000 viewers who have actually attended this session with me, and I have responses from Vikas Singh, who says that he's finding the presentation good. Mr. Shami Minocha, thank you for actually encouraging me. He's saying that it's been an excellent presentation as well. It's been such a pleasure to be able to give all these inputs to you. Meenakshi Sapru, of course, has also been through the entire presentation. She says it's a great presentation, Rajashree. I'm sure the way you simplified whole of the concepts would help people, normal layman, to understand what is right for their well-being. Such a great initiative, and I would, that is why I recommend to you all who have actually seen this session, try to share the same link which you've received to as many of your near and dear ones. And of course, the number 98200 I'll repeat the number 98200 will be open. You can always send us messages or call us if you have any questions. You can also reach us out on this live Facebook page that we have. If you have any questions, we will be very happy to answer those. On that note, I take a leave from you, and we will be back, of course, with another series on Tuesday. But till then, you have a very good Sunday, and hope to see you soon again. I will, of course, play a small prelude note of our sponsor, that is Energia, the RSG Nutrition and Healthcare, whose brand, of course, the brand is Energia, and I would like to play their prelude for you quickly. Bear with me for a second, and thank you again, RSG Energia, to always, and their team, which is led by Mahesh Dharade, always for supporting us through our initiatives relentlessly in spreading the word, in putting the live softwares and presentations together, putting the creatives together. Thanks again. And